Commander Abigail Wright stood at the window of the underground base looking at screens that showed the world above. Her eyes were tired from lack of sleep. Her hands gripped the edge of the control panel until her knuckles turned white. 3 years had passed since the Vrexian ships first appeared in the sky. 3 years since Earth fell. The memory of that day still haunted her. The massive black ships had appeared without warning, blocking out the sun in major cities around the world, most of humanity had no time to react. Their weapons proved useless against the advanced shields of the invaders. Within days, Earth was under alien control. Abigail turned away from the screens and walked through the narrow hallway of the Nevada facility. The base had been built during the Cold War designed to withstand nuclear attacks. It now served as one of the last free human outposts. The experimental shielding that surrounded the facility had somehow hidden them from Vrexian detection technology. A lucky accident that saved their lives. Dana Miller sat at the communications station, her dark hair pulled back in a tight ponytail. Her eyes never left the screen as she monitored transmissions from the surface. "We got another message from the Portland Resistance Group," she said when she noticed Abigail. "They lost 3 more people in the raid but managed to get some medicine." Abigail nodded grimly. The human resistance was fighting back, but at a terrible cost. For every small victory they suffered devastating losses. The Vrexians were simply too powerful. Their neural suppressors could shut down human brain activity with a single pulse, making large-scale resistance nearly impossible. Patricia Collins, the base engineer, entered the control room wiping grease from her hands. She had been working on the power generators again, trying to extend their lifespan. The generators were old and parts were impossible to find. "How much longer?" she asked. 60 days, Dana replied. Checking the supply inventory, 60 days until their food would run out, until they would have to risk exposure or starve. Abigail walked to her private quarters at the far end of the facility. The room was small, just big enough for a bed and a desk. A photo of her family sat beside her computer. They had been in Chicago when the invasion happened. She had no idea if they were alive or dead. The not knowing was sometimes worse than grief. She sat on the edge of the bed and opened the bottom drawer of her desk. Inside was a small metal box with a biometric lock. She pressed her thumb against the scanner and the lock clicked open. Inside was a single key card, something she had been ordered never to use except in the most dire circumstances. 3 years, she thought. 3 years of hiding. 3 years of watching humanity suffer under Vrexian rule. How much longer could they wait? How much longer should they wait? A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she called, closing the drawer. Olivia Reese, the former NASA pilot, entered the room. She held a tablet in her hands. "We intercepted something interesting," she said, handing the device to Abigail. "A Vrexian transport schedule. Some kind of special shipment coming through Sector 7. Abigail studied the information. The schedule showed unusual movement patterns. Something big was happening. The Vrexians were gathering resources from all over the planet and bringing them to a central location. They must have found it," Olivia said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Found what?" "Whatever they came here for. In every conquered world, the Vrexians followed the same pattern. They arrived, they subjugated, and they extracted some vital resource that only they understood. Then they left the planet, a hollow shell of what it once was." Abigail felt a chill run down her spine. If the Vrexians were entering the final phase of their operation, time was running out. Earth might have months, not years, before the damage became irreversible. She made her decision. Walking back to the control room, she called for attention. Everyone in the facility gathered around. Some stood while others sat on whatever surfaces were available. 38 people in total. All that remained of their original group. "For 3 years we have hidden," Abigail began. "We have watched, we have learned, and we have waited for the right moment." She paused, looking at each face. "The time for waiting is over." Confused murmurs spread through the group. Dana looked concerned. "What are you suggesting?" she asked. "We can fight them, not directly." Abigail smiled for the first time in what felt like years. Not with conventional weapons, no. But we have something they don't know about. Something they couldn't possibly expect. She pulled the keycard from her pocket. This facility wasn't built just as a monitoring station. It's built on top of something much older, Project Lazarus. The name meant nothing to most of them, but Olivia gasped. That was just a rumor, she said. A story told by conspiracy theorists. It's real, Abigail replied. And it's directly beneath our feet. She walked to the far wall and placed her hand on a section that looked no different from the rest. A hidden panel slid open, revealing an elevator that none of them knew existed. Follow me, she said. Stepping inside, the elevator descended deeper than seemed possible. The group crowded inside, watching the level indicator drop past numbers they didn't know existed. Finally, it stopped. The doors opened to reveal a massive, underground hangar. Inside were 6 sleek vessels unlike anything they had seen before. Shaped like arrowheads with smooth black hulls that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They were clearly designed for space travel, but with lines and features that looked both familiar and alien. What are they? Someone whispered. Our way to fight back, Abigail answered. The United States government recovered alien technology in 1947. For decades they studied it, reverse engineered it, and finally built these prototype vessels. They were never deployed, never used. When the Cold War ended, they were sealed away, forgotten. Patricia walked toward the nearest ship, running her hand along the hull. Is it operational? She asked, her engineer mind already assessing the technology. All 6 are in hibernation mode. Abigail explained. They require minimal maintenance and were designed to last centuries. Mary Delgado, a physicist who had been working on their life support systems, moved closer to examine the ships. With these, we could actually fight, she said, her voice filled with awe. Not just fight, Abigail corrected. Win. The Vrexians conquered Earth through surprise and superior technology. They have never faced an enemy using their own technological principles against them. For the first time in 3 years, hope flickered in the underground facility. The Vrexians had conquered Earth, but they had made a critical error. They had underestimated humanity's will to survive, and now they would face the consequences. Abigail looked at her team. It was time to wake the sleeping giants. It was time for Earth to fight back. The underground hangar buzzed with activity. Teams of engineers worked around the clock to prepare the alien ships for launch. Patricia Collins moved between workstations, checking progress and solving problems. She had never seen technology like this before. It was both familiar and strange, as if human engineering had been merged with something else. Mary Delgado stood inside the lead ship, studying the control systems. The ship was designed for human pilots, but the technology was far beyond anything Earth had developed before the invasion. This was not just advanced human technology, this was something else. Abigail Wright watched from the command center. Screens showed the status of each vessel. They had named the lead ship Phoenix. It seemed fitting, a symbol of rebirth from the ashes of defeat. The other 5 ships received similar names from ancient myths, all representing renewal and hope. Kelly Summers, a former commercial airline pilot, had been selected to captain the Phoenix. She had the most flight experience among them, though nothing could have prepared her for this vessel. She sat in the command chair, running simulations and learning the ship systems. Do you understand what you're looking at? Abigail asked, approaching. Kelly, not entirely. Kelly admitted. The navigation system seems intuitive enough, but the weapons and defense systems, they respond almost like they're alive, because they partially are, Abigail explained. According to the project files, the technology was reverse engineered from a ship that crashed in 1947. The systems are partly organic grown, rather than built. Kelly stared at the control panel with new understanding and slight unease. How do we know the aliens who built this weren't connected to the Vrexians? Olivia, who had been studying the historical records, joined them. According to what I found, they were completely different species. The crashed ship was apparently fleeing from something. Maybe even the Vrexians. She placed a tablet on the console showing ancient cave drawings from around the world. They all depicted the same thing. Tall humanoid figures with elongated heads. The beings who made this technology visited Earth thousands of years ago. Olivia continued. They left warnings in every ancient culture, warnings about the Vrexians. Our ancestors interpreted these warnings as myths about gods and demons. Susan Taylor, the former Marine in charge of security, approached the group. "How much longer until we can launch?" she asked. Her team had been training with weapons salvaged from military bases modified to work against Vrexian technology. "One more day," Patricia replied, joining them. "We need to finish the final calibrations on the propulsion system." Abigail nodded. 1 day to prepare for humanity's first strike against their conquerors. The plan was simple but dangerous. They would target a Vrexian mining operation in Montana, a vital facility where humans were forced to work extracting resources. The Phoenix would attack the outer defenses while Susan led a ground team to rescue the prisoners and gather intelligence. The other 5 ships would remain in the hangar being prepared for future missions. This first strike was a test, a chance to evaluate Vrexian responses and the effectiveness of their own technology. Donna entered the hangar carrying news from the surface. "More transport ships are arriving," she reported. "They are gathering resources faster than ever. The final phase has definitely begun." "How long?" Abigail asked. "Weeks. Maybe a month," Dana replied, "based on their current extraction rate. Then we launch tonight." Abigail decided, "We can't wait any longer." Activity in the hangar intensified. Final preparations were made in a rush. Supplies were loaded. Weapons were checked and rechecked. The ground team, consisting of Susan and 5 others, donned salvaged combat gear, upgraded with components from the alien ships. As night fell, Abigail addressed the assembled crew. "This is not just about revenge," she told them. "This is about survival. Not just our survival, but the survival of our species. For 3 years, the Vrexians have treated Earth as their property, humanity as their slaves. Tonight we remind them that Earth belongs to us." Kelly settled into the command chair of the Phoenix with her crew. A young woman named Tina Baker would handle communications. Lisa Green managed the ship's defenses. Carol Adams monitored the engines. All had trained for weeks in simulators, but nothing could fully prepare them for the real thing. The massive hangar doors above them began to slide open, revealing a tunnel that led to the surface. Abigail watched from the command center as the Phoenix powered up, ancient engines humming with energy that felt different from anything human-made. The ship rose silently, hovering in the center of the hangar. "Good hunting," Abigail said over the communication system. "Remember, your primary objective is to gather intelligence and free prisoners. Avoid prolonged engagement." "Understood." Kelly replied, her voice steady despite her fear. The Phoenix ascended through the tunnel and into the night sky above the Nevada desert. The ship's stealth systems engaged automatically. Panels along the hull shifted, color and texture rendering the vessel nearly invisible to both sight and sensors. They rose higher, accelerating toward the northeast, where the Montana facility waited. Inside the Phoenix, the crew worked in tense silence. Kelly watched the navigation display showing their position relative to known Vrexian patrols. So far, they remained undetected. The ship's organic system seemed to anticipate threats, adjusting course automatically to avoid detection. They reached Montana in less than 20 minutes, a journey that would have taken hours in conventional aircraft. The mining facility spread below them, a sprawling complex of buildings and excavation equipment surrounded by high walls and guard towers. Vrexian energy signatures pulsed from security systems designed to prevent escape. Susan and her team prepared in the ship's small deployment bay. The plan was to drop them near the southern perimeter, where security appeared lightest. Then the Phoenix would create a diversion, attacking the main power generators. Kelly positioned the ship and gave the signal. The deployment bay opened. Susan and her team dropped silently to the ground using personal stealth modules salvaged from the alien technology. Then Kelly banked the Phoenix toward the primary target. The ship's weapon system activated, targeting the facility's main power core. Energy gathered at focal points along the hull, then released in concentrated beams that cut through Vrexian shields as if they were paper. The generators exploded in brilliant blue light. Alarms sounded throughout the complex. The Vrexians responded immediately. Security forces converged on the breach point. Energy weapons fired into the sky, seeking the source of the attack. But the Phoenix remained invisible, moving constantly to avoid detection. For the first time since the invasion, the aliens faced an enemy they couldn't easily track or destroy on the ground. Susan led her team through the confusion. The neural suppressors that normally controlled the human workers had failed with the power system. Prisoners were already rising up against their guards. Fighting had broken out across the facility. Susan found the main detention area and freed the remaining prisoners. Among them was Laura Stevens, a former satellite engineer who had been gathering intelligence during her captivity. They have a central data hub in the main building, she told Susan. They store everything there, including their planetary survey. Data Susan relayed this information to Kelly, who adjusted the attack plan. While the ground team evacuated prisoners, the Phoenix targeted secondary systems, creating more distractions. Then Susan and 2 team members infiltrated the main building, fighting their way to the data center. The Vrexians had never expected a direct assault. Their security was designed to keep prisoners in, not enemies out. Susan reached the data center and connected a specially designed device to the alien computers. The device created by Mary began downloading everything. Meanwhile, Kelly continued the aerial assault. The Phoenix weapons were devastating against unprepared targets. Vrexian ships scrambled to respond, but the Phoenix moved too quickly. Staying one step ahead of pursuit, Susan contacted the ship. "The download is complete. We have what we need." Her team fought their way back to the extraction point, bringing Laura and several other key prisoners with them. The Phoenix descended briefly, hovering just long enough for the ground team to board. Then it shot skyward, accelerating beyond the reach of Vrexian pursuit craft. Kelly pushed the ship's engines to maximum speed, leaving Montana far behind. The first strike against the Vrexian occupation had succeeded back at the Nevada facility. Abigail watched the Phoenix return. The hangar doors opened, allowing the ship to descend. Cheers erupted as the crew emerged victorious. The prisoners were taken to medical for evaluation, while Mary began analyzing the stolen data. What they found confirmed their worst fears. The Vrexians were extracting a previously unknown element from Earth's core, something they called chromium. It had unique properties allowing for manipulation of space-time itself. With enough chromium, the Vrexians could achieve technological supremacy throughout the galaxy. They chose Earth because our planet has the highest concentration of chromium in this sector. Laura explained, "They have conquered 17 worlds before ours, all for this element, and Ralph Weiss, we need to stop them before they get it all." Abigail said, "This was no longer just about liberating Earth. It was about preventing the Vrexians from becoming unstoppable." The stolen data also revealed something unexpected. The crashed ship from 1947 belonged to a species called the Talari. They had been fighting the Vrexians for centuries. Somewhere out there they might have allies, and with 5 more ships nearly ready for launch, they now had the means to find them. News of the Montana raid spread through hidden human resistance networks like wildfire. For the first time in 3 years, people dared to hope the Vrexians were not invincible. They could be fought, they could be defeated. Small uprisings began in labor camps across North America. The aliens responded with brutal force, but they could not stop the whispers of rebellion. In the Nevada facility, Mary Delgado worked tirelessly analyzing the data stolen from the Montana base. The information was fast and complex, written in the Vrexian language, which they were only beginning to understand. But certain patterns emerged. The Vrexians operated on a strict hierarchy. All commands came from central processing hubs, one for each continent. Each hub connected to the mothership in orbit. More importantly, Mary discovered weaknesses in Vrexian technology. Their neural suppressors operated on specific frequencies. If those frequencies could be blocked, humans would be immune to their effects. They were already developing countermeasures based on this discovery. Meanwhile, Abigail planned their next move. The 5 remaining ships were nearly ready for launch. Their crews trained day and night, learning to operate the alien technology. The Phoenix underwent repairs and upgrades based on lessons from its first mission. A message arrived from a resistance cell in Europe, led by a woman named Beth Winters. She claimed to have captured a Vrexian communication device and intercepted strange transmissions. Not from the Vrexians, but from something else. Something that seemed to be watching the invasion from a distance. We need to investigate this. Abigail decided. It could be a trap, but it could also be the allies they desperately needed. She selected the second ship named Orion for this mission. Kelly would remain with the Phoenix, preparing for further strikes against Vrexian installations. Olivia would captain the Orion. 3 days later, the Orion launched on a course for Europe, its stealth systems keeping it hidden from Vrexian patrols. The journey took less than an hour. The ship landed in a remote forest in what was once France. Beth and her resistance fighters met them at the landing site. She led Olivia and her team to an underground bunker where the captured communication device was kept. The device was unlike standard Vrexian technology. It was more elegant with flowing lines and crystal components. It pulsed with soft blue light. We found it in a crashed scout ship, Beth explained. Not Vrexian design, something else. The pilot was dead, but this was still operational. It receives transmissions from deep space. Mary examined the device, her eyes widening in recognition. This matches the technology in our ships, she said. The ones built from the 1947 crash. This is Talari technology. As if responding to the name, the device activated. A holographic display appeared, showing star maps and coordinates. A message in an unknown language played, then translated itself into English. To any who oppose the Vrexian Empire, we offer alliance. The Talari Collective stands ready. Olivia looked at Mary. Could this be real? The technology matches. Mary confirmed. This is genuine. Talari communication. Abigail made her decision when she received the report. They would make contact. The Orion would follow the coordinates provided by the device to a meeting point beyond Earth's solar system. It was risky sending one of their precious ships into unknown territory, but the potential reward was too great to ignore. Olivia selected her crew carefully for the diplomatic mission. Carol Adams from the Phoenix team transferred to handle communications. Ashley Wilson, a linguist who had studied the Vrexian language, would attempt to communicate with the Talari. Natalie Morris, a physicist specializing in quantum mechanics, would study their technology. The Orion departed Earth on a clear night, slipping past Vrexian patrols with ease. Once beyond lunar orbit, the ship's true capabilities became apparent. The alien engines could bend space in ways human science had only theorized about. The Orion accelerated to impossible speeds, leaving the solar system in hours rather than years. At the designated coordinates, they waited. The crew, tense and alert, scanning for any sign of threat or welcome. A ship appeared seemingly from nowhere. It was beautiful, with a crystalline structure that reflected light in rainbow patterns. It dwarfed the Orion in size, but made no aggressive moves. Transmission came through the communication system. Welcome, humans of Earth. We have waited long for your awakening. The Talari ambassador boarded the Orion. A being of pure crystalline structure that moved with fluid grace, it communicated through pulses of light which the ship systems translated. We have watched your world for centuries, it explained. We tried to warn your kind about the Vrexian threat. That was our scout ship that crashed in your year 1947. The Talari Collective consists of 12 species, all victims of Vrexian expansion, all fighting to reclaim their homeworlds. For a millennium we have waged this war, and now Earth has joined our cause. Olivia explained their situation. The 6 ships they had built from recovered technology, the successful raid on the Montana facility, the ongoing Vrexian extraction of chromium from Earth's core. The Talari ambassador pulsed with bright light when chromium was mentioned. That is why they came. That is what they seek on all worlds. The element is rare in our galaxy, found only on planets with specific geological histories. Your Earth has the richest deposits yet discovered. If they extract it all, they will achieve technological supremacy that cannot be challenged. What can we do to stop them? Olivia asked. Fight, the ambassador replied. But not as you have been. The ships you created contain Talari technology, but incomplete, imperfectly understood. We can help you unlock their true potential. The ambassador shared technical knowledge crystal components that could enhance the ship's systems, methods to counteract Vrexian weapons more effectively, ways to shield humans from neural suppressors permanently. The information was vast, but the ship's computers recorded everything. Talari offered a formal alliance. Earth would become the newest member of the collective fighting, not just for their own freedom, but for all worlds under Vrexian dominion. When the Orion returned to Earth, it carried hope and knowledge. The Talari ambassador came with them, eager to inspect the remaining ships and help upgrade them with proper components. The underground facility became a hub of activity as Talari technology was integrated with human determination. All 6 ships underwent transformations. Crystal components replaced metal ones. Weapon systems were enhanced. Communication systems expanded to connect with the Talari network. The crews trained with new interfaces, learning to harness capabilities they never knew existed. Patricia oversaw the physical upgrades. Her engineering team, working alongside Talari technicians, Mary focused on the theoretical aspects, understanding the science behind the technology. Susan developed new combat strategies based on Talari intelligence. About Vrexian weaknesses, the ships were not the only focus. The Talari provided portable devices that could block neural suppressors. These were distributed to resistance cells around the world, enabling coordinated uprisings. Laura Stevens led a team developing communication networks, allowing these cells to work together. Dana received messages from resistance groups daily, more humans breaking free, more strikes against Vrexian control. The aliens responded with increasing force, but they were spreading thin, unable to maintain complete control. When one uprising was crushed, 2 more began elsewhere. Abigail stood in the command center watching reports from around the world. The tide was turning slowly, but surely. With each passing day, more of humanity broke free of Vrexian control. But time was still against them. The extraction of chromium continued. If they waited too long, Earth would be a hollow shell. It is time, she announced to her assembled commanders. We have prepared, we have trained, we have allies. Now we strike, not just to damage, not just to disrupt, but to win. She outlined her plan. A coordinated global assault. All 6 ships would attack simultaneously, targeting the continental processing hubs, while resistance forces on the ground would strike at extraction facilities. The Vrexians believed themselves invulnerable. Abigail said, "They have never faced defeat on this scale. They don't know how to respond to a threat of this magnitude. Their rigid hierarchy will be their downfall." Kelly would lead the Phoenix team targeting the North American hub. Susan would command ground forces. Mary and Patricia would coordinate from the Nevada base using Talari communication technology to link all resistance cells. Olivia would take the Orion to the orbital mothership, with the Talari ambassador attempting diplomatic leverage while positioning for military strike if necessary. The plan was set. The crews prepared. Equipment was checked. Ships were fueled. Weapons were loaded. The future of Earth would be decided in the coming battle. The night before the attack, Abigail stood alone in the hangar, looking at the 6 ships now gleaming with crystal enhancements. She thought about the 3 years of occupation, the suffering, the loss, the despair, but also the resilience, the hope, the determination that kept humanity fighting. Tomorrow the war engines of Earth would roar back to life, and the Vrexians would learn why this planet should never have been touched. Dawn broke over the Nevada desert. The underground facility hummed with final preparations. 6 ships stood ready in the massive hangar, their crystalline components glowing with internal energy. Crews performed last checks. Systems were brought online. Weapons were armed. This was the day that would decide the fate of Earth. Abigail addressed the assembled teams from the command platform. Today we fight not just for our planet, but for all worlds under Vrexian control. Today we show them that freedom cannot be extinguished. Today, Earth strikes back. Her words were transmitted to resistance cells worldwide, all waiting for the signal to rise up. The attack would be coordinated and simultaneous. The Phoenix would target the North American processing hub in what was once Chicago. The Orion would approach the mothership in orbit. The other 4 ships would strike at processing hubs on different continents. Ground forces would hit extraction sites across the globe. The Vrexians would have no time to coordinate a response. Abigail had chosen to lead from the front. She would join Kelly on the Phoenix. Mary would remain at the base coordinating the global effort through the enhanced communication network. Patricia would manage technical support, ready to address any equipment failures. The hangar doors slid open. The Phoenix powered up first, rising smoothly into the tunnel that led to the surface. The other ships followed one by one, each with its own mission, its own target. The final ship. The Artemis cleared the hangar and all 6 accelerated toward their destinations. The assault on Vrexian rule had begun. The Phoenix flew low and fast, avoiding detection systems, its enhanced stealth technology rendering it invisible to Vrexian sensors. The crew was silent, focused on their tasks. Kelly navigated, while Abigail monitored overall strategy. Lisa managed weapon systems. Tina handled communications. They had done this before, but never with such high stakes. The Chicago processing hub came into view. A massive structure of black metal and pulsing energy fields. Vrexian ships patrolled the perimeter. Neural suppressor towers kept the human workers docile and compliant. The Phoenix approached from the east, the rising sun at its back now, Kelly said. The Phoenix weapons powered up crystal components, channeling energy in ways that defied human physics. Beams of concentrated light struck the nearest suppressor tower. It exploded in a shower of fragments. The other towers were targeted, in rapid succession, each falling before the Vrexians could respond. Alarms sounded throughout the facility. Vrexian ships turned to engage the unknown threat. But the Phoenix was already moving, targeting power generators, defensive systems, communication. Arrays. The ship's enhanced weapons cut through Vrexian shields with ease. Similar scenes played out across the planet. The Orion approached the mothership in orbit not to attack, but to deliver the Talari ambassador for negotiation. A diplomatic front. To the military assault. The other 4 ships struck their targets with precision and power. 3 years of preparation paying off in a synchronized global attack. On the ground, Susan led the assault team into the Chicago facility. Neural suppressors. Offline human workers were waking from their forced compliance. Many joined the fight, picking up, dropped Vrexian weapons or using tools as makeshift clubs. The aliens had never prepared for an uprising of this scale. They had grown complacent in their dominance. Reports flowed into the Nevada Command Center, Mary coordinating between Teams Victory and Sydney. The Australia hub was offline success in Rio de Janeiro. The South American hub critically damaged Moscow under human control. The European hub captured rather than destroyed challenges in Beijing. The Asian hub heavily defended but under sustained assault. The Vrexians struggled to respond, their rigid command structure breaking down without clear communication between hubs. Individual commanders made tactical decisions without overall strategy. Some ordered retreat, others committed forces to hopeless defense. The Phoenix continued its assault on the Chicago hub. Kelly executed complex maneuvers, keeping the ship moving to avoid return fire. The Vrexian defenders were growing more organized. Beginning to coordinate their response, Lisa targeted their communication systems, disrupting their ability to work together. Abigail received word from Susan. The ground team had reached the central control room. They were downloading data, destroying key systems and freeing the remaining human workers. Mission almost complete. A massive Vrexian ship appeared above the facility, larger than any they had encountered before. A command vessel. The Phoenix sensors detected energy buildup. The Vrexian ship was preparing to fire something powerful enough to destroy the entire facility and everyone inside it. Kelly, we need to draw their fire. Abigail ordered. Away from the ground team, the Phoenix banked sharply, racing away from the facility. The Vrexian command ship followed, its weapon systems tracking the smaller vessel. Kelly pushed the ship to its limits, testing the enhanced engines. The Phoenix accelerated to impossible speeds, but the Vrexian ship matched them. They want this ship. Abigail realized they recognized the technology. Lisa targeted the Vrexian ship's engines. A direct hit. The massive vessel slowed but did not stop, its weapons still charging. Kelly executed a complex, Spiral maneuver. The Phoenix spinning and diving. The Vrexian ship tried to follow but could not match the smaller vessel's agility. The command ship fired. A beam of concentrated energy that missed the Phoenix but vaporized a small island in Lake Michigan. The Phoenix weapon struck again and again, each hit weakening the larger ship's shields. The two vessels danced across the sky in a deadly ballet of attack and evasion. Word came from Susan. The ground team was clear. They had what they needed. Kelly turned the Phoenix back toward the processing hub, its weapons at full power. This was the moment to end it. The ship's crystal components glowed with gathered energy, then released it all in a single devastating blast. The Chicago hub exploded, energy systems overloading, secondary explosions rippling through the structure. The Vrexian command ship attempted to flee, but the Phoenix pursued its weapons still hot from the last attack. The larger ship shields failed under sustained fire, its hull breached. The command ship fell from the sky, crashing into Lake Michigan. Similar reports came in from around the world. Processing hubs destroyed or captured, Vrexian forces in disarray, resistance cells taking control of city after city. The tide had turned. In a single coordinated strike, humanity had broken the back of Vrexian occupation, but the battle was not over. The mothership remained in orbit, the ultimate source of Vrexian control. Abigail received a transmission from Olivia aboard. The Orion negotiations have failed. The Vrexian High Commander refuses to surrender. They are preparing something big. Energy readings from the mothership spiked. The massive vessel was repositioning, orienting toward Earth, its weapons charging with power beyond anything they had seen before. The Vrexians intended to punish humanity. If they could not have Earth, no one would. All ships target the mothership. Abigail ordered. Maximum power. The Phoenix shot upward, breaking free of the atmosphere. 5 other ships converged from different points around the globe, all 6 focusing their weapons on the mothership. Its shields were strong, designed to withstand attacks from advanced civilizations. The enhanced ships fired again and again, each blast weakening the massive shields but not breaking through. The mothership weapons continued to charge. In minutes it would be ready to fire, a blast that could render Earth uninhabitable. The Talari ambassador communicated from the Orion. There is another way our technology can create a feedback loop in their chromium extraction system. It would disable their weapons, but someone must deliver the device directly to their core, a suicide mission. Abigail thought. Then she saw Olivia's response. Orion, "We'll deliver it." "No," Abigail transmitted. "There must be another way. There is no time." Olivia replied. "The other ships must continue the assault. Keep their attention on you. We will approach from behind." The 5 ships maintained their attack, drawing Vrexian fire. The mothership's shields weakening but still holding. The Orion disappeared from sensors, its stealth systems at maximum, then reappeared directly behind the mothership in its sensor blind spot. The smaller ship latched onto the hull using magnetic clamps. Olivia and a small team cut through the outer plating of the mothership. Using Talari tools that sliced through Vrexian metal with ease, they fought their way through interior defenses, moving deeper into the massive vessel, toward its core. The Chromium Extraction Control Center. On the bridge of the Phoenix, Abigail watched the mothership's weapon charge reaching critical levels. If the Orion failed, everything was lost. The mothership weapons suddenly powered down. Energy systems fluctuated, then failed completely. The massive vessel went dark. Drifting in orbit, Olivia had succeeded. The feedback device had worked, overloading the chromium systems and disabling the entire ship. But at what cost? The Orion did not respond to communications. No signal came from Olivia or her team. They had sacrificed themselves to save Earth. The remaining Vrexian forces on the surface, seeing their mothership disabled, began to surrender. Some fought to the end, but most recognized defeat. Without the processing hubs, without the mothership, they had no hope of victory. The synchronized global assault had succeeded beyond all expectations. Humanity had won. The war engines of Earth had roared back to life, and the Vrexian Empire had met its first true defeat. The weeks following the defeat of the Vrexian mothership were filled with both celebration and sorrow. Earth had won its freedom, but at a terrible cost. Cities lay in ruins. Millions had died during the occupation and the final battle. The environment had been damaged by Vrexian extraction technologies, but humanity had survived. And more importantly, it had triumphed. Abigail stood on a hillside overlooking the Nevada facility, watching the sunrise. 5 ships rested on the desert floor, their crystal components gleaming in the early light. The Orion was missing, presumed destroyed in the attack on the mothership. Olivia and her crew honored as heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice. Dana approached carrying a tablet with the latest reports. The cleanup continues. She said Vrexian technology is being dismantled or repurposed. Neural suppressor technology destroyed. The remaining aliens have been contained. What about the mothership? Abigail asked. Still in orbit. Patricia is leading a team to study it. The Talari are helping. They believe most of its systems can be restored. The chromium extraction technology removed or modified. The Talari. The Alien Alliance had proven true to their word, fighting alongside humanity, providing technology and knowledge without which victory would have been impossible. Their crystalline ambassador stood nearby, communing with a group of scientists explaining principles that would advance human understanding by centuries. 3 weeks after the final battle, a signal came from space. A ship approaching Earth, but not Vrexian design. The sensors identified it as the Orion, though damaged, heavily modified, and barely recognizable. The ship landed at the Nevada facility, its hull scorched, systems failing. But somehow intact. Olivia emerged, supported by Carol and Ashley, all 3 injured but alive. They had survived by hiding within the mothership, repairing the Orion with salvaged parts. After the Vrexian crew abandoned ship, they managed to get their vessel operational again. A miracle of ingenuity and determination. The reunion was joyous, tears and laughter. The crew that everyone had given up for dead returned like ghosts. Olivia explained their survival. The feedback device had worked better than expected, not just disabling the mothership but creating a cascade failure that forced the Vrexians to abandon ship. They had hidden in a maintenance section for days, venturing out to salvage parts, eventually repairing the Orion enough to limp home. With the return of Olivia and her crew, humanity could truly celebrate their victory. Ceremonies were held in cities around the world, honoring those who fought and those who fell. Monuments erected to remember the occupation and the liberation. Leaders emerged from resistance cells, forming new governments. The world united in a way it never had before. 2 months after the final battle, Abigail called a meeting of all ship captains and key personnel. The Talari ambassador attended as well. The mothership had been secured. Its technology understood, its databases translated what they found, confirmed what they already suspected. Earth had not been the Vrexians' first conquest, nor would it have been their last. 17 worlds before ours, the Talari ambassador explained. All still under Vrexian control. All with populations enslaved, all being stripped of resources. The room fell silent, everyone understanding the implication. We can't just save ourselves, Abigail said. We know what it's like to live under their rule, to be treated as resources rather than people. She looked around the room at the faces of those who had fought for Earth's freedom. Can we ignore the suffering of others? Kelly spoke first. The Phoenix is ready whenever. You are commander? Susan nodded. My team can train more ground forces. With the mothership's database, we know exactly what we're facing on each world. One by one, they all agreed. Earth would not stand by while others suffered. The alliance with the Talari would continue, but now humanity would take the fight to the enemy. Not just defending their world, but liberating others. The next 3 months were spent in preparation. The 6 ships underwent extensive upgrades and repairs. 3 more vessels were constructed using the combined knowledge of human engineers and Talari scientists. The mothership itself was converted, purged of Vrexian control systems, and repurposed as a carrier for the smaller vessels. Its weapons recalibrated. Its engines, enhanced crews, were selected and trained using simulations based on Vrexian data. The best pilots, engineers, and soldiers Earth had to offer. Many were veterans of the resistant survivors of labor camps, people with personal reasons to hate the Vrexians. But they were tempered by leaders who understood that revenge alone was not enough. They fought for freedom, not just destruction. The day of departure arrived. The converted mothership, now renamed Liberty, stood ready in orbit. 9 ships docked in its massive hangar, supplies, loaded weapons, armed crews at their stations. Abigail would command from the Phoenix, leading the first assault. Kelly at the helm. Susan heading ground operations. The target: the nearest Vrexian-controlled world, a planet called Novan, its population enslaved for over a century. Before boarding the Phoenix, Abigail stood once more on the hillside overlooking the Nevada facility. The place where it all began, Earth spread out below, no longer bearing the scars of occupation. Recovery had been swift, the planet healing itself now that the Vrexian extraction had ceased. Cities rebuilt, forests replanted, humanity united with a common purpose. Dana joined her. "The communication network is ready," she said. "All resistance cells on the 17 worlds have been contacted. They are prepared to rise up when we arrive. The Vrexians won't know what hit them." "Just like here," Abigail said with a smile. The Liberty departed Earth on a clear autumn day, its massive form growing smaller against the blue sky until it was just another star. Then it was gone. Jumping to faster-than-light travel using modified Vrexian technology, the Liberation fleet was on its way. Aboard the Phoenix, Abigail addressed the crews of all 9 ships. "Today we leave our home. Not as conquerors, not as invaders, but as liberators. We know the pain of enslavement, we know the joy of freedom. Now we bring that freedom to others." The Vrexians believed they could take whatever they wanted from the galaxy. They believed no one could stand against them. Earth proved them wrong. Now we show them that no world they touch will remain in chains. The Phoenix led the fleet out of the Liberty. When they arrived at Novan, cloaking systems engaged, weapons ready. The planet below bore the familiar signs of Vrexian occupation: processing hubs, extraction sites, labor camps. The same pattern they had used on Earth. The attack began. The Phoenix targeting the central processing hub, while other ships struck at different facilities. Susan and her ground teams deploying to key locations. The native population rising up as suppressor fields went offline. The Vrexian defenders surprised by the coordinated assault. The battle was fierce, but the outcome was never in doubt. 3 days later, Novan was free. Its people celebrating in streets they had been forbidden to walk. Its resources protected, its future, its own to decide. The Liberation fleet remained only long enough to ensure stability, to help establish defenses. Then they moved on to the next world, the next battle. One by one, the 17 conquered worlds were freed. The Vrexian Empire collapsing from within its rigid structure, unable to adapt to attacks on multiple fronts. Its forces stretched thin, its leadership in chaos. The species that had brought suffering to countless civilizations finally experiencing defeat after defeat. The final battle took place on the Vrexian homeworld, a planet of harsh beauty and advanced technology. The species that had built an empire on the suffering of others fought desperately to defend their home. But they faced an alliance of all the worlds they had once conquered, each contributing ships, technology, and warriors. All united in the cause of freedom, the Phoenix led the assault, Abigail commanding from the bridge, Kelly at the helm. The ship that had fired the first shot against Vrexian rule on Earth now fired the last. The Vrexian defense grid fell. Their government surrendered. Their military disbanded. In the aftermath, a new galactic council was formed. All liberated worlds given equal voice, Earth among them. The Talari Collective integrated into this new alliance, humanity stepping onto the galactic stage not as conquerors, but as liberators. Their reputation spreading across the stars, the species that broke the Vrexian Empire, the world whose war engines roared back to life. Abigail stood on the observation deck of the Phoenix watching the proceedings, the treaty signing, the formation of the new council, the beginning of a new era. She thought about the underground facility in Nevada, where it all began, a secret base, A forgotten project. 6 ships that changed the course of history. Commander Wright, a voice called. She turned to see Kelly approaching. The council is requesting your presence. They want to offer you a position. Leading the new defense force, Abigail smiled, looking out at the stars. Earth was safe. The Vrexians defeated, but the galaxy was vast. Who knew what other threats might lurk? In the darkness, the war engines of Earth had roared back to life, and they would not fall silent again. The end.